Greetings! In this video I'm going to be recreating the Slayer from Doom the Dark Ages in Elden Ring. I've already created the Atlan from the Dark Ages in Armored Core, so if you're interested in seeing that, I'll have that video linked in the description in Play. And this video is the beginning of a occasional video synergy, and where I take a character or concept and create a build for it in both Armored Core and Elden Ring. So the Atlan for Armored Core and the Slayer himself for Elden Ring. If you have any characters or concepts you think would be interesting for this series, definitely feel free to let me know in the comments below, and I very well might make a poll out of my top picks. So with all that out of the way, let us begin. Alrighty, here we are, the Slayer. We'll go over the weapons, armors, talismans, incantations, all that good stuff. First, for weapons, we have the Knight Rider Flail. As it looks and behaves, the closest to the flail we get in the game. And I've given it the Ash of War Endure, so we can just absolutely trade with any enemies, because the flail class in Elden Ring isn't so nice. But with an Ash of War like Endure, we can at least, trade without getting too interrupted. It's a pretty slow swing, but it can hit pretty hard. And because it's a spiked weapon, it does have natural blood loss. And we have it scaling with Arcane, so we get even higher blood loss, up to 99, which is pretty nice. Next, we have the Smith Script Shield, which of course with its Ash of War Discus Hurl, we can mimic the actual, throwing shield capabilities like we see in the game. And it even kind of looks like it with the runes and symbols etched in it. Next, we have the Spiked Kestis, to of course mimic the Gauntlet melee in the Dark Ages. And for Ash of War, going with Bargart's Roar to simulate the Bloodlust mode you unlock later in the game, which of course amplifies the heavy attacks moveset, which is pretty cool, but also increases the damage. We of course have it scaling with Arcane, so we get blood loss. Overall, very solid indeed. Then next I have the Smith Script Daggers, and with their Ash of War Scattershot Throw, I think this best simulates the Skull Crusher, the Pulverizer. And I just realized I actually have these scaling with Bleed, so they only have a B in Dex, where I could have had them scaling with Arcane, giving us an A in Arcane. So definitely going to be doing that now. But yeah, these are super good and cause a lot of bleed buildup, depending on how many you hit. Overall, very solid for a little bit of chip at the range, or close range bursts, either one. Then next I have the incantation Dragon Claw, which is a very strong, although a bit telegraphed, so you only win it by trading into the enemy, or they just don't know how to dodge it. And this is of course meant to simulate our best boy, our dragon in the Dark Ages. I would have added like a Dragon Fire incantation, but he doesn't seem to breathe fire, so it is what it is. And of course to cast it, I'm using the Dragon Communion Seal, as it boosts Dragon Communion incantations. And then lastly, I have the Spread Crossbow. And when equipping it with lightning bolts, I find this thing to do a lot of damage and very nice wide AoE. And this is of course meant to simulate the BFC. Unfortunately, this won't actually one-shot everyone, but the damage is quite high. And that could be because lightning damage itself, I believe, scales with dexterity. And as you can see, our overall build is a Dex Arcane build. Of course, I am level 235, so these stats would definitely need to be tweaked based on lower levels, prioritizing Arcane and Dexterity above all else, and getting away with enough endurance to wear the full set of armor may be a bit tough. Speaking of, for the armor, I of course have the full verdigris set, as it's the only green-ish, very tanky type armor. For talismans, I have the Great Jar's Arsenal to make it so we can actually hold all this, plus our 40 endurance. And the last few talismans I kind of tweak around. Obviously, the Flux Canvas Talisman if I want to lead with the Dragon Incantation, the Shard of Alexander if I want to get some basic attack boost out of the Ash of Wars, like the Shield Throw and such. And of course, the Smithing Talisman, which increases the throwing attacks of the shield itself as well, both of course boosting it. Other great talismans for this build is Lord of Blood, as it of course increases our attack power whenever we get a blood loss, and since we have very high Arcane and blood loss weapons, this talisman can come out very much in handy. Similar with the fists equipped, the Rotten Wing Sword Insignia can also help out. But yeah, that's pretty much everything you need to know about the build, the Slayer in Elden Ring. And of course there are more weapons in the game, but those are the ones I found had the best adaptions. Feel free to let me know if you have any other recommendations. But yes, I shall now take this into the Colosseum and see how it fares in PvP. Enjoy the fights.
Launch the Slayer.
mankind can produce, we will send unto them. Only you. Rip and tear until it is done.
And that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. And of course, a huge shout out to my channel members, my Egg Crusaders, Arch, Shadow, Metal, Magpie, Hollow, Turbler, and Ronin. Thank you all so much for becoming channel members. Y'all truly make this content possible. And yes, I hope you all have yourselves a very, very good one. Peace, and thank you.